This is the Aces Up Your Sleeve podcast, and we're the Aces Up Your Sleeve in relationships, from romantic to workplace, parental to platonic, your relationship with yourself, and everything in between. Let us, two autistic aspec kinky therapists, be your secret weapon in neurodivergent life.
This is your disclaimer. This is not therapy or therapeutic advice, and we are not on the clock. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is not a replacement for therapy. What you'll hear are our thoughts on different topics, what we might do in the situation, and how we've supported others through similar things. Welcome to the Aces Up Your Sleeve podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina.
And I'm your other host, Cade.
And we're here at the Aces Up Your Sleeve podcast to answer all of your little questions about, really whatever, but primarily relationships and stuff. And today we're particularly answering some aromantic questions, which is fun.
Yeah, Sabrina and I had a late night last night, so hopefully our brains are ready to answer some questions for you. We were enjoying the comedy stylings of Lou Wilson.
Yeah, and Zach Oyama, and it was very fun, but I was actively asleep for part of it.
Yeah, the time zone difference is tough.
It's pretty brutal, especially because you're not really a morning person and I'm not really an evening person.
Yeah.
So I actually did sleep in today, though, which is like super unlike me, but I guess makes sense since it didn't end until like 12:30 or 1 my time.
Super late. All right, we will jump into these questions. Our first one says, okay, I wonder what it means to be aromantic. I am autistic and don't feel many emotions, and when my family, friends, or best friends say they love me, I can't describe what I feel back. Is it because I'm autistic? How do I know if I love someone? I worry about dating and what it will mean if I never feel.
I do think that there is, and always tell me if you have different thoughts, but like it feels different to me to have like aromantic versus like not romantic feelings for your friends. Not being able to identify what feelings, if any, is also a whole other thing. Like it feels like we're talking about like at least 3 different things here.
Yeah, I guess if we start with I wonder what it means to be aromantic, usually this is in reference to that specific romantic love.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like asexuality, there's a whole spectrum of being aromantic. It's not you either do have a romantic love for someone or you do not, or you can have romantic love for someone or you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole wide array. Some people really need to get to know the person before they can feel truly deeply in love. Some people only feel love for someone if that love is already felt for them. Some people only feel love
If there's been a sexual connection.
Yeah, or if it's like, I think it's like auto-romantic, where you feel that intense romantic love for yourself only. So there are so many different ways to be aromantic. And Sabrina's right, it doesn't usually encompass feelings towards family, friends, or best friends, unless that is that specific, like, I can only fall in love with my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also like, so this is something that I still like, my brain has a hard time wrapping itself around, is that like difference between romantic love and platonic love, and like all of that doesn't feel super clear cut to me. I'm one of the, like, that's part of my aspec identity, is that there needs to be some kind of a like platonic friendship based thing for me to feel connected at all. Um and so yeah, like I think that even there, right, it's like, oh, like what am I feeling at all? I don't know. I think that there's too much of an emphasis for some folks and in our society a little bit of like, oh, you need to have very exact clear cut feelings about anything, but especially around like romantic love and partnership and things like that.
I don't think it's a norm in our society to not be friends with the person you also are romantically in love with, but I do think that there are quite a few people who are like, no, your romantic partner can't be your best friend, because then you're just friends, just it feels like roommates or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also not true.
Right.
People are allowed to have layered feelings.
Exactly. I think that there's maybe more space. And I also don't think that just because you don't feel love in some very specific prescribed way, that that means that you can't date or that you can't have fulfilling relationships, platonic, romantic, or otherwise.
When you're saying when someone says they love me, I can't describe what I feel back. That is, we know, a little more common for autistic folks to struggle with parsing out what type of feeling it is or even to recognize that feeling, but it's not exclusive to autistic people, and it's certainly not all autistic people. And I think Sabrina said like prescribed definition. I think our society, American society, really makes a big deal out of like, you're going to feel
Mhm.
butterflies. Your heart's going to race, your palms are going to get sweaty, you're going to feel like you're going to faint. Whatever it is that's out there in like romance novels or movies, or when people say their vows and really sometimes exaggerate some of those little feelings, to make it sound more romantic, that's not the only way to feel love for someone. And in fact, that is a very specific experience of love when it comes to those physical sensations that not everybody has.
Did you watch Bridgerton? I always forget.
No, I have not seen that one.
Okay. So there's a character in Bridgerton, Francesca. It's actually interesting. Asia and I were just watching Enola Holmes, and that same actress is in that. And my brain was like, where have I seen you? Because she's like playing a really different character. But in Bridgerton, Francesca is one of 8 kids or however many. The whole thing is that the mom in Bridgerton is like, I want everyone to have an epic love like I had. Like, I want it to like knock you on your feet and like bowl you over and like rip your heart to shreds and like all this shit. Like, I want you to have like marry for love. That's important to me. That's my value. And that like love is this like big, intense, fireworks thing. And Francesca is kind of like slowly, quietly falling in love with like her guy. And it's not like that. And it's not bowling her over. And she's not like a Twitter and she's not like all of these things. And like so the book I think does it differently, but in the show we also are getting this message that she maybe is like bi in some way or so. She's gonna fall in love with this woman in another season moving forward, and so we don't know if that will end up being like big fireworky, but like I hope it's not, because I think that Francesca's a really good representation of like, oh, like it doesn't have to be like that, it can be any way. This is also where I get a little bit in my little feely wheels about like, what if you just get to choose to call it love or to not call it love?
Yeah, truly.
Like,
Truly, because love is what you make it,
mhm.
there are people out there who will say that love has to be, this fireworks thing, or there's got to be a lot of push pull, and like love is a fight that you just got to keep on fighting for, and love is heartbreak and heartache. I don't know that I've ever, those are not things that I would not describe love that way, and I don't think lots of folks would describe it that way. I think there's so much variety in how you feel and express love. To me, it is much more of, that some folks will say it's a verb. You're choosing to continue this action of love and
Mhm.
loving. And that one resonates a little more with me, where it's like I'm choosing to continue a commitment and through the stuff that's a little bit harder. But I'm going to be honest, no one that I've ever been in a romantic relationship with and I have ever like knocked down, drag out fights and then make up the next day. That's just never been my experience of love.
And I think too, like, if we could understand that people can have different tastes in like foods and music,
Hmm.
and some people can like the mountains and some people can like the beach, I don't get why we can't understand this part, that like,
Yeah,
yeah, because I like some little intensity, but like I like most of my intensity to be in like a kink form. And so like not in a knockdown, drag out, or scream at each other. Like my nervous system can't handle that. I grew up in too many knockdown drag outs with my parents. And so if someone's like, you have to have that much passion to be in love, then I don't get to be in love. And also the type of love that I do get defined doesn't get to be as validated, and I think that's bullshit.
absolutely. And the word passion, too. So many people feel like passion has to be showing up after you've been rejected with a boombox and singing to them outside. And
Uh,
to me, that's not passion. That is bordering on like stalking. You probably shouldn't do that. And instead, passion for me would be the thoughtfulness of, oh, I picked up your favorite things because I was thinking of you. But that never gets called passionate. That's like, oh, you're just considerate. Well, think about how intimately you've got to know someone to be able to do those things and to know if it'll be appreciated or not.
yeah. Oh, I remember one time, God, we had such a hard day and got home and we both were like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And so we like ordered dinner or whatever. But I also just decided that I was going to very sneakily like order insomnia cookies and I had to know like what is this bitch gonna want from insomnia because I bought a pack because we're not doing one insomnia cookie, that's ridiculous. I'm gonna get 3 cookies in a special and you're gonna get 3 cookies in a special. And so like what is the spread of cookies that you're gonna want and what is the like knowing that kind of stuff. I agree that there's a like you interest at the very least. And I don't know, I think that there's also not everyone wants passion. Like not everyone wants someone
Yeah.
paying that much attention to them or acknowledge like whatever version of passion that you want to explore. I don't know. So all this to say,
Yeah.
I do think it might be because you're autistic that you struggle to describe what you feel back. It also could just be like we don't do a lot of like emotional education. So if you're in the U.S., if you're in the UK, if you're in some of these like more like westernized societies, like emotional education is not a big thing, and so actually understanding like how to identify your emotion and then describe it isn't like both something that we just fundamentally don't teach and then also is just something that is harder for some autistic people. And so the combination of that somewhere therein is likely why you don't have the words to describe it. I also wonder like does it have to be words? Can you describe it in a song? If you heard a song that reminds you of your friend, that can be describing how you feel at them back, right? Or in art or in like the feeling that you get sitting outside and thinking about joy. Whatever the thing is, right? There's also just a bunch more ways to describe things than the English language, certainly.
Just words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, they are starting in high schools to do a lot of social emotional learning curriculum stuff, but there's no way that that's covering romantic love. That's covering friendship, maybe at best.
Yeah. And like I would bet that it's covering happy, sad, angry, and then this one is shamed, right? We don't want angry. Go away angry. Fear. Like I would guess that it's like covering like the domains more so than the like. And so sometimes when your heart beats really, really fast, it's because you're scared. And sometimes it's because you're angry. And sometimes it's because you're happy. And like you could actually have similar body sensations across emotions, which is part of what makes it hard to figure out like what the fuck am I feeling?
Absolutely. And I bet it's covering some of those toxic cycles in friendship, which maybe you could extrapolate and, and use in a romantic context, but I think it's hard to know if you love someone by someone else's definition and you almost have to come up with your own definition.
In terms of dating, it gets to mean whatever you want it to mean. If you want to be dating people, date them. And if you don't, don't. And if you want to date them and understand the way that you feel about them, you can try to do some self exploration, but you can also explore why is it that it's so important to me to have a specific, likely English word for this thing? Can I find
Yeah.
other ways?
And as you start to figure out what love means to you or doesn't mean to you, you might go, oh, my definition is probably not one of the mainstream ones, which also has its place on the aromantic spectrum. You know, I consider myself on that, even though I say I love my partner. Because my definition is so much commitment and choice based. On the flip side, the like all romantic expectation is that it's this feeling that
Mhm.
you have and then all the descriptors that come with.
It also is really helpful for me. The idea of it being commitment and choice based is usually what I try to center back into when I'm struggling with something. Like when my partner does or says something that like is really hard for me and like kicks up all my rejection stuff and all my BPD stuff is like, hey man, you're choosing this. You do not have to keep choosing this. And if you're going to keep choosing it, you need to acknowledge it as a choice and act as if it's right. You know what I mean? Like you need to give people the benefit of the doubt and like work with them and try to talk through the things instead of avoid them. And this is the choice that you're making. So either stop making the choice or commit to the choice. Like those are the options.
Which I will say, I'm sure does not resonate with all of our listeners because I also know many people who are stuck in relationships
Mm-hmm.
with people that are treating them poorly and they're like, I just can't stop loving that person. I really feel like I cannot give up on this and what we have. And for some of them, eventually they do have to move on. And it's heartbreaking because they felt so deeply for that person. If you're listening and you're going, well, it's not a choice. So you're saying like romance and sexuality are choices. I don't think that's necessarily true for everyone either.
No, I certainly don't. I just think that for some people it is. And so if it is for you, then being aware of that. If it's not, I've definitely had situations where it's like, I can't imagine my life without this person in it. Every person that I've ever felt that about is not in my life right now. Not in a bad way, but just I try to remind myself that like my imagination is limited. And sometimes it's that like I don't want to imagine my life without them. And I don't also think that just because you figure out how to work within a challenging system, that makes it like less challenging or is only an act of passion or love or whatever. I also don't think that like if you're like, okay, well, I can't stop loving this person. Okay, that is also a thing you're committing to, right? Even if you can't stop loving them, you could take different actions to like limit your exposure, or act intentionally around those feelings of love. And if you don't, that's okay, right? Like I'm just going to keep on engaging with them that is in a way that is like supporting this intense love that I have. Still, I feel is like a choice.
Yeah, because it's not to say that even if I chose to end things, that I wouldn't be like, dang, this really sucks. And I would still care about that person. It would just be hard. Yeah. I don't know if that's helpful. I think what it will mean if you never feel love is that you'll find other ways to connect with people if you
Mhm.
want to be dating, and that it'll still be okay. You'll find people who get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Our next one. I'm a 53-year-old male and I wanted to write in to ask what I'm supposed to do if I can't find love. I have a few close friends and my family that live nearby, but I feel lonely most days. Everyone has lives of their own. My friends and extended adult family are all partnered, so it leaves me as the odd man out. I've had a few dates over the years, but nothing lasting, and I don't know that I felt love. What should I be doing with my love life? I don't want to be 80 and alone.
Mm. I am not 53, but I am 30 and feel this. I think I've mentioned like I'll talk about my partner as like my partner, but it really is very much a platonic best friendship that is just easier to describe because like we make life plans together and like we plan to continue living together and like being intensely best friends in this way for like the rest of our lives. That's just easier to explain, especially to like normies as, partners. But um I am still interested in some form of a like romantic partnership thing, like whatever that ends up looking like. And I feel this a lot, especially when like all your friends are getting partnered up. And I think, especially because of the way that our society looks at like, oh, your romantic partner is your like do everything together partner, like is your do everything together person, right? Where like people will start like leaving out front and like, oh, yeah, well, I want to go to this event. So I'm going with my partner and not my best friend who I used to would have gone with, right? And like those types of things means that it's very lonely to be the only one in your friend group not partnered up.
Yeah, or that you're always invited as almost the third wheel or the afterthought. I know that that can be really hurtful too. But sometimes I think that that change might only be a conversation away.
Mm-hmm.
Reaching out to some of those folks that you're closer to and saying, maybe being very vulnerable and saying, I've been struggling to find somebody to date and I really enjoy our time together, but I noticed that lately you're only doing stuff with your partner, or that lately we haven't been doing as many things together, or I haven't been getting an invite. Are there more things we could do? Could we schedule something a little more regularly?
Yeah, I think that being able to do that and like being really honest about that. I also think investigating the I don't want to be 80 and alone, right? So then what does it look like to not be alone? Like, is romantic partnership the only way to not be alone? Or are there ways like insatiable? Wasn't really that, but like there was kind of a really strong drive for me for a long time. Like, I need to find a romantic partner and I need to do all the things that I can put up with shit that I shouldn't be putting up with and like act in ways and like, you know, drove a lot of like eating disorder thoughts, of course, all these things, right? Like that is, I need to focus a lot of my energy on that. And once I really built friendships, again, I live with my best friend. That's really helpful. I see my other friends at least once a week. We talk on the phone multiple times. You and I talk, Cade. every single day, right? We do events like what we did last night, like even from across the country. And so once I started putting that same energy into like, I don't want to be alone. I don't have to be like, my options are not like romantic partnership or alone.
Yeah.
And that, like, again, expanding that view of like what love is, it really, really helps. And so now, like, while I'm still interested in it, it doesn't consume me.
And they always say, when you're not looking for it, that's when it finds you. So maybe there's something to that, maybe there's not. But I do find that there's a certain energy that some folks give off when they are desperately looking for love that actually other people pick up on and are not so enthused to be around that because they almost feel like you just want
Mhm,
anybody and it doesn't have to specifically be them, and it makes the whole thing feel less special or less intentional. So, looking at your friends, looking at who else is in your community, it may not lead you to romantic love with someone, but it also might. You know, perhaps you're 80 and you join the local billiards club and then you stumble upon somebody who is just a great match for you. And then you don't have to be alone while you're 80 in that romantic way.
mhm,
But I think, yeah, finding ways to appease whatever parts of you feel lonely. So if that is, oh, I want something romantic, can you find like a pen pal? Can you join a role playing community and do some written romantic storylines? Can you become a romantic author? The romantasy books are very popular right now. You know, are there other ways to get that need met and express that side of yourself in the meantime?
mhm. Yeah, I definitely think like i- connecting with that part, like just between you and yourself, can be helpful because it also lends itself well to like you just understanding yourself more. I was watching, so we both watch Nicole Byer's podcast, Why Won't You Date Me?
Mhm.
God, she's so fucking funny. Um, and she just recently did an episode with Esther Perel, who is like a really, really famous couples therapist and relationship therapist. And on there, Nicole's last question is always, "Would you date me?" Which there's a very, very funny clip of the comedian that we saw last night, Lou Wilson, because she goes, would you date me? And he goes, we did go on a date. Like, I have dated you. We have dated. I went on a date with you. And she was like, oh my God, what? Da, da, da. And he like tells her. And then she's like, well, we didn't kiss. And he goes, we did kiss. Yep. We did in fact kiss. I did kiss you. Yep. So, and like, it's just very funny. But when she asked Esther, Esther goes, I'm going to turn it around on you. I want to know, would you date you? And Nicole goes, and she like thinks about it for a minute. And she's like, yeah, I think I would. Like, I think I'm kind and I think I'm funny and all these things. And Esther goes, good, then I would. Because I only want to be in relationships with people who would be in a relationship with themselves. Like, I only want to have sex with people who would have sex with themselves. I only want to, like, I want you to know what you bring to the table and like yourself and enjoy yourself and all of those things because that makes you more enjoyable to be around, right? And that makes you more. And so I think that like, and that's hard. Like, I have a hard time with that shit. But I think that it actually makes so much sense that like a lot of people want someone who wants in their life to be a part of a partnership, but not like your whole world, or like we can't ever, especially in the beginning part, like I don't know you, and I have my own friends and I have my own life. And like, I want someone who also has their own friends and their own life. Right. And so there's like, I think that there's something really important about like, do you know what you bring? Not just what you want from someone else, but what like they can expect from you. Do you know, like, would you date you? Do you think that you're bringing enough to that space? Not enough, but bringing what you want to. And then that way, even when you get rejection, even when you get like all these things, you're at least still like, okay, then that wasn't it. Like, I want someone who wants me as much as I want me.
I like that reframe too because it's not quite the same as treat others how you want to be treated. You're not saying that you should date me because I'm the perfect partner for myself. You're just saying I would find myself enjoyable to be with, and I've put some effort into being a decent partner by most standards. I also like it a little better than the one that goes around the queer community all the time. RuPaul's "How in the hell are you going to love someone else if you can't
Uh,
even love yourself" type of
that
thing.
is in,
Yeah.
so I didn't know what you were going to say because I don't follow RuPaul much, but there's like a whole big part of Rent, which is my favorite musical, that talks about that. You'll never find real love until you love yourself, I should know, is what Roger screams at Mimi at their friend's funeral because Rent. Um,
Great. Yeah.
musicals.
Good
Yeah.
timing. Yeah.
Um, and what's so interesting is Lizzo did a whole big thing a couple years ago when she was on tour around like, if you can love me, you can love you. Like it like flips it a little bit of like, y'all, you're looking at me like you love me, you think I'm great, you think that I am cool, you think I look good, all these things. If you can find that for me, you can find it for you. It's just going to take that effort to do it. Right. And so like I think that there's a lot of those kind of little like, you'll never have real love until you love yourself. If you can love me, you can love you. Sometimes it's okay to need somebody else to love you in order to love yourself. Like, I don't know. I think that they all have sparks of truth and then sparks of like, we can't go to the absolute extreme of this, of like, you literally cannot find love until you love yourself because some people just need to feel someone else care about them in order to like learn that they are worth caring for because of their upbringing and their natural experiences of themselves and whatever else.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of nuance with all of it that gets lost when you're trying to make a snappy little quote, which I understand.
Yep.
It's why a lot of our quote posts are either very short or would be very long, and so we can't use them because there's too much nuance to just clip it and send it on.
Yep. Yeah, it is one of the things that's interesting about like running this podcast is that we don't make very many like quick, snappy, succinct things because like that's kind of antithetical to our actual view of like how to be in relationship with others and like how to hold multiple identities and all these things. And like the irony is that this is probably going to get clipped, right? But like it's just not digestible and clippable in a 20-second video.
Yeah, no. It's hard for the type of content we want to provide you all, which is some solid things to think about, some solid, like, non therapeutic advice. Very tough to squeeze that into 10 to 20 seconds.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so I guess really it comes down to what are you supposed to do? Work on loving yourself?
And finding other ways to meet those needs that don't require one single other romantic human, you know?
Mhm. Exactly.
And then hopefully, if that's your goal, one day you will find that right person or people to fill that need.
Yeah. And the concept of relationship anarchy, I think is a really helpful one in situations like these, just to expand your vision of what love could look like.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you can also ask yourself, why is it so important that it be one person? Why is it so important that it look a certain way?
Yep.
And if you're the type of person to hold very tightly to that, that's worth exploring too. You know, what messages are causing you to hold so tightly to that, or what values are under that? And is that truly the only way to express those values? I think a lot of people don't get that far in the self-examination process.
Yeah. It like kind of is, what do I need to change about me to be lovable? And then
Yeah.
like frantic efforts to do so.
Or sadly, what's wrong with all these other people that they don't find me lovable? And then there's a whole nother path those types of folks tend to go down.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that is useful starting places for you. We're going to go over to Upping the Ante, which is our exclusive bonus content, where we've got two more listener questions. One is about what to do if you're already married but there aren't any butterflies. And then another one is somebody asked us if someone's standards are too high or if they're actually aromantic. And somebody's quote unquote tried dating autistic people and it didn't work. And so now they want better advice than that. So we'll see what we can do.
Exciting. All right. Um, you can expect new episodes weekly on Tuesdays. You can find Kate at Cryptid Learns and me at Radical Insights Consulting on Facebook or Instagram at a.com for our websites. Follow the podcast on Facebook or Instagram at Aces Up Your Sleeve Pod so you can interact with us and see when new episodes release. If you have any questions, we would love them. Listener questions are what we eat for breakfast. Actually, we both ate Lunchables for breakfast, but listener questions are right up there with Lunchables. Visit neurokink.org/AUYS and send it our way. And like Kate said, we're going to be jumping over to our Patreon to Upping the Ante And that's over at patreon.com/aces up your sleeve podcast. You can also listen wherever you stream once you join Patreon. It has its own private podcast stream, and you can gain access for as little as $4 a month. And we want to say a very special thank you to all of our patrons. Oops.
Patrons, yeah.
My brain like kind of elongated it, but not enough to make it a really different word. But we want to say thank you. We really appreciate you. It is actually so helpful to have a little bit of money coming in to help us cover the cost of the podcast, because it costs money for us to do this, but we find it valuable enough to continue to do. And so it is really, really helpful. And also, we appreciate just kind of getting to be in relationship with you and always want your feedback and things like that. So make sure to, what is it, like, comment, subscribe, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the little like tacky thing that people put in their YouTube videos.
Yeah. Thank you all so much, and we will see you over on the bonus content.
Bye bye.